All right, welcome to this Thursday episode of DB2. David Brem here with Daniel Butler as always. Butler, we're going to talk Titans wide receivers. A little disappointing, but kind of where we see this going forward for the rest of the season.
Wow, you caught me off guard there. I wasn't sure what we were going to discuss, so I did
Yeah,
not
we
come
didn't plan
prepared.
this at all.
But I will go ahead and say that I don't think Julio Jones has been a top 50 wide receiver this year on a points per game basis. I'm going
No,
to
he's
say he's
been,
around like 61. What do
yeah,
you?
we don't have any information at all in front of us.
So Julio,
Yeah,
yeah. So one, AJ Brown. I guess we could probably talk about the easy part of this, right?
yeah,
AJ Brown is not great currently, but he now is coming off of a huge week.
mhm,
Drafted at wide receiver 8. If you were redrafting, I think both of us would say he's not in the top 10. But
correct.
is he top 15? Is he now getting where do you think
I think
AJ
you're
Brown?
right about there. I think probably like I'd have to sit down and look,
All
but
right,
probably in that like
you have
14
to
to
sit down and look.
17.
All right, let's sit down and look. All right, I'm going to go through some names. All right.
All right.
Devontae Adams. I'm going to just go
Oh,
ahead through some of these pretty quick. Devontae
yeah.
Adams, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Hopkins, Debo Samuel, I think, Terry
Yeah.
McLaurin, and then we get to CeeDee Lamb, probably, I guess. Then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so that was 11 guys. You have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, those Calvin Ridley. I kind
I
of
think
think
I think
he's
that's the ballpark.
I think he's around 10, 11, 12-ish. I think he might be
Yeah.
top 12. So he's
I
actually
hope
pretty
that's
close to
true.
ADP. Not too far
Yeah.
off with how bad it started.
Yeah. I think rest of the season, I think Tannehill showed us something last week. He's been a little bit down, obviously, all season from where we expect him to be, which makes a big difference for the wide receivers, obviously. I just hope this is trending in the right direction. I think it is. He's not the 39th best receiver in the football. He's just not. So I think somewhere in that like 15ish range is where he ends up. So a little bit below where you drafted him, but I don't think I think we're going to see a much better second half from AJ Brown. And I think this week 7 kind of hopefully is the kickoff to that, and I think it will be.
Yeah, and I 100% agree. I think we drafted him at 8. If you were redrafting, which is kind of what we were talking about, like
Yeah.
you're redrafting, yeah, he would probably be a few spots below. I think that's fair, but I still think he might be top 12. He might be around 12, 13, somewhere in
Hmm.
there. 11, 12, 13. It's not too far off of where you drafted him. So yeah, you haven't got that yet, but well, besides this week 7 was really good. But this could be the beginning of him going back to being AJ Brown, those sort of big days. Now, the
I think
more
so.
interesting part, I think, because I think a lot of people are probably now feeling pretty good about AJ Brown, is
Yeah.
Julio Jones, drafted at wide receiver 18, currently wide receiver 61. Is look, I was looking at the rest of season rankings. Fantasy Pros has him at number 37, so obviously well behind. They actually
Yeah.
have his draft at 17, though I might know I am on PPR. So somewhere around 17, 18 is where he was drafted. So maybe even worse. But yeah, 37. How do you feel about Julio Jones rest of the season? Is he a top 30 guy? Is he a top 40 guy? Is he
Um,
not even top 40?
I I think they're spot on, if not a little optimistic. Um, I do not see this like turning around that much. Like I think he's probably a top 40 guy, but if you told like if we get to the end of the season and he didn't finish the top 40, I won't be shocked.
Yeah, and you always think like there's no way. I kind of thought this with Allen Robinson. There's no way he's not top 30 or whatever. But
Yeah.
you look at these guys
You go through the
ahead of him.
names and you're like,
So like 25. I'm going to start 25. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. Some of these are pretty obvious. Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, Chase Claypool, Cortland Sutton, Jalen Waddle, T Higgins. I don't know how much they update these because I feel like some of these guys should be a little bit higher. But
yeah,
Brandon Cooks, obviously, Emmanuel Sanders, we like. Jerry Judy, there he is. He should be coming back. I would definitely take him. Tyler Lockett, he's been way down, but still rather have Lockett.
yeah, still way
When
better.
Fussell comes back, they have Kadarius Tony here. Not really sure about that one. I'm not sure. That seems
Yeah,
really high. But let's
I
Devontae
don't love
Smith.
that.
Let's even say not even like that, but even below him. So that would put him at 35. You put those guys. Corey Davis right below him. Marvin
Rather Corey
Jones,
Davis.
Sterling
Yep,
Shepard. All three of those guys
yep,
I'd rather have. Jacoby
absolutely.
Myers, I think I'd rather have.
Yep.
Henry Ruggs, maybe, but he might not even be top 40. It's close. There's
Yeah.
people down there like Michael Thomas. I think I'd rather have just the upside. So
Oh yeah.
he's at 44. Rashad Bateman, I might even rather have for Baltimore. Again, another upside type guy. So yeah, there's. I'm not. I kind of think of him as Allen Robinson to me. He has me. I'd probably pick him over Allen Robinson, but like I I don't see it. I don't see it this year.
No.
This
He's to the point, kind of like Allen Robinson, where depending on your bench size and your roster makeup, you could justifiably drop him.
Yeah, I
You just would.
think he's just. Yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I think he's just out of drop rank. Like if you look at the guys around him, like those guys are mostly pretty much all owned that he's ranked. So I think you're like top 40 guys are pretty much all owned. But then you get to the Bateman, the Hunter Renfro, Allen Robinson. We talked about Mooney, Chenault, Boyd, stuff like that. That range. And now you're starting to get people that a lot that aren't necessarily like owned on most leagues or not. There's a good amount of them. I think he's just above that. Like most leagues, he should still be owned. But I do think there's some leagues, especially your 10-teamers, like no problems dropping him. Like
No.
depending on how deep your bench
And
is.
I'm in a couple leagues with some like real limited bench, and I don't have him, so I don't have to worry about it. But I wouldn't hesitate to drop him.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I think somewhere around 40 is probably where he is, and then with that information, you can take that and depend on what you want to do. But that's probably at the end of your bench for wide receivers. Not really, it doesn't really seem like a ton of upside to me. He obviously hasn't really shown that this year. He had one solid week 2. That's where you drafted him. Week 2 was where you drafted him.
yeah,
Everything else has been not great. So and after week 2, you probably played him in week 1, disappointed. You may have played him in week 2. Let's say you did because you're like,
you
yeah,
probably still did.
yeah. See, and then so you played. He was solid. So then when you played him in week 3, he was terrible. And then he comes back week 6, terrible. So week 3, the only week that he gave you any production is week 2. You probably played him, and the worst thing is you played him in week 1, you played him in week 3, and you may even played him in week 6, and then probably didn't play him in week 7. But like you played him in almost all the weeks. That's the worst part because it was like week 2 wasn't like really bad. Like you might have been playing him all this time. So it's really been a bummer if you drafted him and just I think for me, yeah, I kind of agree. I think around 40, and then you can take that for what it is if you want to drop him or if you want to try to trade him maybe depending on the size of the league. I just don't see it happening. I am high on AJ Brown. I think he's going to be great.
I am too, but I think that I'm high. The mixture of I'm high on him, and I don't know that Tannehill is going to be like lights out enough to carry 2. And with Henry getting as much work as he's been getting, justifiably, I'm not saying take work away from Henry. The way Julio's performed and the way this offense is trending, I just don't see. I don't see the upside, and the floor is so low.
Yeah, Julio was only on the field 43% of the snaps on this game, and only had 4 targets. So, I mean, maybe we'll be wrong on this one. I think for me, I don't say drop him. I think he's close, but he's close. Like he's depending on what maybe give him a few more weeks. But if you have 6 teams on bye, 14, and you need a spot, I don't think he's gonna be produced. I don't think you got to worry.
If you've been playing fantasy before the season, it's gonna hurt to drop somebody like Julio Jones, but
yeah,
we're deep enough in the season where this isn't a fluke. I don't think so.
Yeah, so something to think about with Julio. Outside of Julio, there's nobody else, so those are your 2 options.
No.
There's not a whole lot of fantasy relevance beyond Henry and AJ Brown, but Julio, we thought that would be there, but it's not. So thank you for watching. Usually do this, so what am I doing?
I've all you have it.
Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on notifications, tell a friend, do all that stuff. And it really does comment. It really does help us out. So just think about it. Maybe this isn't the video where you're like, what? I don't want to comment. I don't want to like. I don't want to subscribe. This isn't my video. Well, we're here Tuesday through Saturday. Come on back. Give us a second chance. And we'll see. Hopefully then you'll decide to do it. So thank you so much for watching. You guys are great. We'll be back tomorrow talking, I'm not sure who, but another player. See, that's why I don't do this, because I don't even know who we're talking about tomorrow.
Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy. Okay, there you go. Come back for Jerry Jeudy talk. If you're in the future, you might have already watched Jerry Jeudy video. I know it's the best video ever, so thank you for watching that. All right, see ya.
See ya.